Well, welcome out there once again to my panel show. It's always a pleasure to be here, and it's always nice to have you out there in the audience listening and watching. As you know, the panel show, my guests get into the issues of the city of Fall River. And, well, of course, the issues of the city of Fall River are never ending. There are things that have come up since the last show, and we're going to be talking about them. I have as panelists on this show Dan Robillard. He's a regular, and he'll be calling in. Dan's not here in the studio. He couldn't make it into the studio, so we'll be listening to Dan
Hello.
over the telephone. And I also have a regular, and that's CJ Ferry. And as you know, CJ's got his own news network. There he is on the screen. For all to know who he is.
I'm the resident Duff.
Okay, let's get going with.
Danny, are you there?
I am.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so we're all on board.
Yeah, Dan's there. I could hear him. All right, here's the situation. We got a report out of the mayor's office, and he's telling the citizens of Fall River that it looks like taxes are going to have to go up along with fees. And he said that because these weren't raised on a regular basis over the last 15, 20 years or so, Fall River has found itself a little behind as far as the taxes that people pay and the fees that people pay. Well, of course, if you listen to a lot of taxpayers and fee payers, they say they're paying enough. They're saying that they're paying too much. And also, City Council President Mr. Camara, Joe Camara, said that that's not the case, that over the years, fees and taxes have been raised, and he can only recall a couple of years when they weren't raised because the city had in its rainy day fund enough money, and they didn't feel that raising fees or taxes would be appropriate. So, CJ, let's start off with you in regards to this idea of raising more money. Let me put it this way. Do you think that the department heads should submit budgets, you might say 10% less than they spent last year as a starter, not necessarily that they'll be cut by 10%? Do you think that's what the mayor should say? Does the department heads bring me a budget 10% less than you spent last year? And I'm going to get into some other questions in regards to the raising of taxes and fees.
Let's get into this right off the bat. It's amazing how this mayor, as every other mayor and every city council, always says, we need to raise taxes and fees. Hey, how about we cut expenses? You know, Sutter has already argued himself into a corner. Mr. Data. Okay, Mr. Data, here's the data you have. It's false. Your people are lying to you. Get the numbers right. First and foremost, 4 supervisors in a department are ridiculous. 2 supervisors in DCM, 2 assistants that is, and 1 supervisor. Why don't we go to zero-based budgeting and work our way from there? Secondly, don't come back to the city council in 3 weeks or 4 weeks after a budget is approved and say, oh, this wasn't included in our budget and we need it, because we always give it to them. And then you wonder why we never have a balanced budget. You in your own report, Mr. Mayor, said Fall River's problem is that it has a spending problem. It spends more money than it takes in. That's not the taxpayer's fault. That's your fault. And by your fault, I mean the government's fault.
Okay, let me get Dan. You can hear me, right?
I can, Richard.
Okay, let me give this bring this up as a follow-up question. We have a lot of nonprofits in the city of Fall River. A lot of these nonprofits are 501c3s. Now, based on the Internal Revenue Code 501c3, that's the section, they don't have to pay real estate taxes on a property that they own. So if they own a building, they're not paying taxes. And as you know, Dan, Fall River has a lot of 501c3 nonprofit organizations, and they own a lot of real estate. Do you think it's time that they should be paying something insofar as taxes, so the tax levy is not only on residential property owners and commercial property owners, but some of it is levied against the nonprofit real estate that they own.
Richard, absolutely. So it's time that every business, every nonprofit pay its fair share, but it's also vital. I'll agree with my colleague, Mr. Ferry, and we've been saying this for years, Richard. It's not new, you know. It might be news to the transition team. It might be news to the cheerleaders who look at the city through rose-colored glasses, but there's nothing in that report that is anything new to those of us that have been watching this for 20-plus years and beyond. So, yes, I do think it's time that the nonprofits pay their share, pay something instead of paying zero taxes. But I think it's time that the government reduce spending and go to zero-based budgeting.
But you know, the city council and the mayor won't do that.
Okay,
because they don't want to alienate the welfare population.
All right, well, you got a point there. I want to move on just a little. We know there's a problem with the taxes. We know that people are not going to be happy with taxes being raised again and fees, and the nonprofits, they need to, it seems, pay something. Now, there's also this idea of having a tourist director. Well, we had a tourist director once before. I don't know what a tourist director is going to do. We have so-called more of a problem not in people coming into the city as tourists, but we have a problem in the city of Fall River with a lack of jobs. Shouldn't the emphasis be placed more on job creation, bringing in businesses?
Why? We don't need somebody to do that. We've got Kenny Fiola. He does a wonderful job in economic development. He never fails. He gets a business here and it leaves as soon as the tax deal runs out. Okay, and the jobs go with it. And what is a tourist director supposed to sell in Fall River? A restaurant? A restaurant. Do you know how bad it is? Next Thursday, downtown Fall River, Casa dos Azores, it's an organization to promote Portuguese people in America. They have a 9-episode TV program about the Portuguese in America and the pride that they have in it. Guess which city is not in that episode?
Oh, well, I can't believe it.
Fall River is not in that miniseries at all.
So what is the tourist director going to do?
We're going to sell.
What is a tourist director going to do that is not already being done?
Here's what the tourist director is going to do.
A tourist director is the most pie-in-the-sky position that man has ever created. The last one was a radio show host in Richard Treef. This is a job for cheerleaders of the status quo. It's something that Rob Million and the people at the battleship support. This is baloney.
He was making $50,000 a year. Now, has any salary been mentioned in regard?
No salary, nothing. Just that we need one. It's going to be on the next couple of weeks.
Something according to the Stereo News, possibly near $100,000.
$100,000.
Which was put aside, by the way, for a person to handle economic development.
So that's $2,000 a week to do what?
Sit down and be the mayor's cheerleader. Rah, rah, sis, boom, ba, sada, sada, ha, ha, ha.
Okay, a tourist director. I don't know. It doesn't seem to be going over too well with this panel. All right, let's move on.
That's like taking good money and flushing it right down the toilet.
Let's stick with money issues, and we got the pay-as-you-throw. Apparently, there's still no ordinance in place.
Correct.
So, based on that, if someone doesn't use the purple bag, and they're given a citation, a fine, they're going to pay $25 or $50, and they decide,
$300.
All right, $300. Then they don't pay it. What happens?
It goes to the magistrate of the housing court, who turns around and says, "There's no ordinance, dismissed."
So why is this taking so long? Why hasn't an ordinance been promulgated long ago when pay-as-you-throw was instituted?
It was actually supposed to be by the 14th of the following month of signing the contract. And that was part of the contract. And the city council did not want to cooperate with then Mayor Flanagan. and they would not do it for him. And now you have Sutter saying it's perfectly legal, we don't need an ordinance, yet he's trying to put one through. And being an election year, no city councilor wants to put through an ordinance charging the residents a $300 fine.
Well,
Plus, the rumor mill has it, and again, this is unconfirmed, the chairman of that Ordinance and Regulations Committee may be announcing a run for mayor, which I think is a big funny farce because that person's like 20 some odd years old, and I don't think the city wants another party mayor.
well,
I
that's
believe he's around the
J.C.
same age as Mr. Hernandez.
Yeah, exactly, 25.
All right, so you're talking about J.C. Correa.
Possibly, yes.
Well,
And by the way, just for the record, the Ordinance Committee and Regulations Committee are two separate committees of the City Council.
all right. Now, we got the pay-as-you-throw doesn't seem to be operating as expected.
The disaster.
It's not bringing in the money as expected. And the other thing that seems to be still on people's minds, and it hasn't been resolved yet, and people are wondering why, and that's the window gate. 22 windows that were installed in the City Hall on the 6th floor, and to everyone's dismay, no one seems to know who authorized the 22 windows. CJ, you're in the media. What does your investigative team come up with? Found out.
The Keebler Elves approved the windows. They actually had them made in the hollow tree, and they had them delivered.
All right.
No, and the old windows are still sitting in the basement of Government Center.
So, but as far as the investigation,
It's still sitting wherever it's sitting at the Attorney General's office, and nobody there wants to give us any information on it because it's pending investigation. This is the big joke, though, that we have in Fall River. You know, you ask any judge on the state or federal level, and they will tell you they are so sick and tired of hearing the city of Fall River being listed as a defendant. Because in Fall River, we break the law, and it's not breaking the law until we're caught.
Dan,
And this is what they do every time.
Dan, what have you found out to the gossip mill in regards to the 22 windows? Matter of fact,
Richard,
you live a stone's throw. You live a stone's throw from those windows.
The town administrator elect in appointment in Somerset, and Will Flanagan, the former mayor, recalled. They know what happened here. Sean Kadim stated that he gave a full report to the police department. That ought to become public immediately.
Well, good luck on that.
I know it won't. I'm saying it should.
I know, good luck on that.
And how in the world do you put 22 windows on the 6th floor and somebody not see something?
Hey, we don't walk around with blinders on.
Well, that's the those are the major questions. No building permit was issued.
No insurance.
There was no insurance. There was no job order. It didn't go out to bid.
Well, that's nothing new for Fall River. We don't put anything out to bid until after the job's done.
And one of the contractors, I guess the subcontractor, was given a check for $50,000, which bounced, and he went to the police department, and this is how this whole thing came about. So if he got a check for $50,000 and he was able to cash it, we wouldn't even be talking about the 22.
Exactly.
Now, why? We have a city council. The city council gets elected to do city business, which is to watch out for the people in the city of Fall River.
But they don't.
And 9 city councilors, and not one of them seems to be or knew about those windows. How do you
I asked that same question.
how do you
know why?
square that with?
Well, I asked that same question. Do you know why? Because for them to get into the city council chamber, they had to walk under the scaffolding. So they're going to turn around. All 9 of them are going to say, "I didn't see anything. I didn't see anything."
So
you walked under the scaffolding. How could you not see anything?
Not one of them raised that question.
Nobody raised the question
during
at all.
session.
Right. Nobody raised the question. Nobody wants to admit it because if they admit it, then they're just as complicit in this.
Is this election year?
Yes, it is.
Now, election year for the city council, school committee, and of course the mayor.
Yeah.
So, Dan, let me ask you this. You think it's time for a taxpayer revolution, and any councilor that votes for a tax increase or fee increases should not be given a vote by the people of the city of Fall River?
Well, Well, I think so, Richard. But and my good colleague and friend, Mr. Ferry, has said numerous times that he believes all 9 councilors should be defeated. I don't personally think that's going to happen, but
I don't think it's going to happen either, but I keep hoping.
This is going to be a very interesting election year, and we've got to make changes on that council.
Danny, you know what? Danny, you know what? I have never in my life seen anyone as full of shit.
Okay.
Excuse the language, but that's the only way I can put it, as this city council, this mayor, and this city has been. And to have a quote from Joker, from Batman, this town needs an enema.
Okay. You said it all, CJ. Oh, CJ, you're tough on the cities. But look, we've got the mayor has been asked, and actually the DA has been asked at the South End neighborhood meeting in regards to the gun incident down at the waterfront.
That's another thing that'll be swept under the rug.
The call late at night to a city councilor, Jaziel Correa, to appear down at the waterfront, and there,
Never happened.
as he alleges, a gun was pulled out. What is your team of investigators
Tying
found?
his shoes in the back seat.
What is your team of investigators uncovered so far?
Well, so far what we found is that Aaron Hernandez had nothing to do with that meeting. Because if there was, there wouldn't be a Jaziel Correa. But what we have found out is that Jaziel has been very clear on the fact that a gun was present. Paul De Silva was present. Okay?
Now,
Mr. Highland Fence Man was present.
Have you interviewed any of these people?
The standard answer we get, for the most part, is Jaziel's stock answer, which he's given to all the press on what happened. And then after that, all comments are restricted because it's a pending investigation.
He also has a civil matter against the former mayor, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct. And Paul De Silva's comment always is present.
Yeah.
Present. Mr. Highland can't be heard anyway, but he can make accusations against me for attacking his wife in the office when I was behind the counter, far away, and I asked, "Did you hear the accusations made against your husband?" And she said, "I heard nothing. I have no comment." So I left. But it's amazing how the lies in our government center keep growing by leaps and bounds. And you would have expected, with the election of a new mayor, that he would get his head out of his backside and turn around and just make some decisions. Councilor Pereira.
As I said, CJ, and we're just past the 100-day mark, and believe it'll be 107, 108 as of tomorrow. Right now, there's not a dime's worth of difference.
No, there isn't. And as a matter of fact, we're worse off than we were.
And the former mayor, Mayor Flanagan.
Right, we're worse off than we were. We've already hired 2 new people, okay? We're now going to hire some more corporate counsel. We're going to hire a new assessor. We're going to, all it is right now is hire. And his budget, well, not even his budget, his proposal is showing a $5 to $10 million shortfall in the budget for 2016. And this is why he's justifying an increase in fees, an increase in taxes, and why pay-as-you-throw have to stay in place.
Well, first of all, you need an assessor because Don Barabee is now in Florida. Gary Howiak is the only, he's acting corporation counsel. The other corporation counsel was discharged pretty near day one of this administration. So,
Steve Torres is currently picking up information.
You expected to come back.
Okay, this is election year, and I guess, can I say it's early? It's April. Usually by April you get some people who are interested in becoming a city councilor, getting on a school committee, running for mayor. Papers are not available yet. Papers will be available, do you have an idea?
That's next month, right, Danny?
In May?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
So, do we know, as we speak here on the panel show, of anyone who is actually committed? Let's start with the city council.
Committed on the city council right now is Cliff Pont, who's a real estate broker here in Fall River. Jason Caminiti,
What's his first name?
Cliff.
And where is he a broker on?
He's a broker on Pleasant Street.
He's a radio disc jockey.
He's also a radio disc jockey.
Years ago at WSAR. Now does DJing for Cat Country in Providence.
Correct.
But he's a full-time real estate broker. He's actually having his kickoff tomorrow evening.
Right, and I told him bad night, State of the City
Yeah,
address.
right in the midst of the state of the city.
Yeah.
Okay, so-
Jason Caminiti,
Uh,
who produced a film called Pawtucket Rising,
Has-
showing how to successfully run a city.
Have these people been out there campaigning
They
somewhere?
have been out. I also believe Joshua Font,
Font,
who has
okay.
been really making the rounds, showing up just about everywhere.
Yeah, Joshua
talking to-
Font, in my judgment, is the most visible and active of the people that we believe are going to formally take out papers.
Right,
As of now.
and none of the city councilors
Have anyone else that you know of?
There is one, but I'm not naming him. I'll leave it to CJ.
Oh, then who was that?
Is it our perpetual candidate?
I'll say this: it's Rich.
Of course, Richard Renzi.
Okay, and that's city council.
No, I think Richard's going to try to make a run for mayor again.
No, I'm talking about the guy that came up with the imaginary proposal for
Oh,
the fire
Mr.
department.
Branco? I mean, Cabaceres.
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Cabaceres, yes.
I refuse
He's
to
running-
give
he's
him
running
the
for city
time of
council?
day.
Yes. Rich Cabaceres, former Fall River firefighter, who came up with the amazing,
Has he run before?
no,
Oh,
came up with the amazing idea to have a fire engine driving around the city at random, and be in random places, to meet the needs of the fire department. And by the way, in case you've missed it, the fire union has decided to go around to the different fire engines that are closed and put big signs up, fire engine closed, you're at risk.
Okay. Okay, that's the city council. We got basically 4 people. Anything on the school committee?
I've heard nothing as for candidates working for
Nothing,
on the school committee.
Nothing on the school committee.
Nothing on the school committee.
And that's, this is a lot of people who are currently in office, including on the city council and the school committee, number one, are questioning whether they should run again.
Like who?
They're in a position where they don't know whether they should run. The only one that's had a time is Leo and Linda so far as incumbents, and Mike Mioza. And Mike Mioza, we still don't know what Mike's doing.
And remember this, Richard, we talk about the need for turnover on the school committee and on the city council. The biggest turnover in both those offices come when the elected leaders and the seat holders decide not to seek re-election. Very, very limited amount of time do you have severe change at the ballot box. The most severe change on the city council was in 1995 in the modern era when 5 councilors were voted out directly from the ballot box.
Okay, now for the mayor, you got Renzi and anybody else that you might know of?
Sutter, that's it.
So it could be just a 2-man race. Mr. Renzi,
But-
Renzi definitely, is he?
Mr. Renzi and I have spoken about it. He has alluded to the fact that he would run potentially for mayor. I tried to dissuade him from that. But then again, we have the rumor mill, which rumors in Fall River are pretty accurate, and that maybe Jaisel won't run for city council. He may run for mayor. And if he does, I can tell you right now, number one, I think it's going to be a hard sell because a 25-year-old mayor is not going to fly because a 29-year-old mayor ran us into the ground.
Well, he's articulate.
Yeah,
He's
and
he's
furthermore-
very articulate.
And
furthermore,
he-
CJ, let's set the record straight. Josie Correa has never been elected
Well,
on
we
his
know
own
that, we
merit.
know that, Dan, we know that, but the thing is, he is on the city council.
Well, but
He,
that makes a big
he is,
difference,
he is,
Richard.
he
The
is,
guy got there because Kathy Rivera sold out and took a job.
we understand,
Period.
Dan, we understand that. But the fact is, he is young, but he's articulate, and he seems to put some time into the issues.
And
But,
he should go
but
nowhere in
pursuant
a
to the
man's
law,
race.
Yeah.
he cannot run as an incumbent. He is not an incumbent. The
He's
law
never
says
been
to be an
elected.
incumbent,
Yeah, we're
you
talking-
must be elected.
All right, we're talking about him running for the mayor's position.
Right,
anyway.
which you want to run as an incumbent anyhow.
Yeah, okay.
But again, the thing is that you need to look at these people, and one of the things I've already started the process of is I'm running the financials on all of them. Every one of them. I'm running the financials.
Well,
on.
what does that mean?
I'm running them through the federal courthouses for bankruptcy records, bankruptcy filings, for their businesses, for their personal life. I'm getting all of it. I'm getting their credit ratings. I'm getting all of it. It's all public knowledge. It's all available to the public. I'm going to do it.
Well, let
and
me-
I'm going to make it very clear to the people of Fall River.
What happened to, was it Leo Pelletier?
Yep.
What happened there?
Oh, you mean where I got blamed for it?
No, I don't know. Was he fined?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was fined $1,000
And what was the reason for that?
because his wife, quote unquote, solicited contributions at his political event.
And what's the prohibition there?
City employees cannot solicit donations for any political candidate.
If they're out of the city hall?
Period.
Period.
Period. They
Oh.
can't be treasurer. They can't solicit. They can't sell tickets. They can't do any of that.
Well, that's interesting because I think that law could be flaunted in many instances.
In Fall River, it's flaunted all the time.
Yeah. So, but he
He admitted that his wife is a city employee. He admitted that she was taking the checks at the door. She was acting as a greeter and taking the checks at the door, and therefore he was found guilty. He entered into an agreement with the Office of Political and Campaign Finance, and he gave him $1,000 out of his campaign funds.
Okay, let me ask you this. We're getting down to the end of the program. Either one, Dan Robillard, who is not here but has called in, and CJ Ferry, who is in studio. Do you know of any city councilor that might not run, that you have a strong feeling about, that might not run for the city council?
No, I think they'll all run. There
All
should
run.
be several that don't run, but they will.
Right. I mean, I think Pat Casey has already seen her time. I think she needs to go by the wayside. But of course, she wants to keep that health insurance because without it, she's not going to function too well. But, and Paul De Silva should turn around and say, you know what, it's time for me to step down, if for no other reason but for the grace of the office.
Do you think if he was to be charged criminally for that gun incident,
I think that if that happens...
do you think he's
and
culpable there, or you think he's just an innocent bystander?
I think he lied through his teeth to defend the mayor.
So if he were charged, you think he might decide not to run?
I think he's going to become a canary.
Okay, that's about the end of the program. I just want to make, before you close me down, got a minute, I want to remind everyone that Memorial Day we have the Corporal Miller ceremony that's at the Miller Monument at the intersection of Shove and South Main Street in Fall River, in the south end of Fall River. That's at 11:30. So remember, Corporal Miller served during World War II in the Philippines. He was captured by the Japanese. He was put on a Bataan death march where about 4,000 to 5,000 Americans and Filipinos were murdered by the Japanese. He ended up in a prisoner of war camp where he died under horrible conditions. His body was never returned to the United States, so the monument there is a symbolic resting place. My understanding is that long ago a priest from St. Patrick's Church went over there and blessed that ground, so it's consecrated as sacred ground, and we'd like to have people turn out on Memorial Day. So the public is invited, and I'll see you then. Thank you out there for watching.